This is East Midlands Today with Anne Davis and me, Dominic Heel.
Our top story tonight, the engine safety scare denting the image of Rolls-Royce in Derby.
After last week's A380 engine drama, Qantas finds problems with 3 more.
Rolls-Royce is one of those companies where people are immensely proud of the product, and justifiably so. These things, though, are the kind of things that happen in aerospace.
Also tonight, from Britain's biggest retirement village, new ideas for funding care in old age.
Plus, Krishna on the curriculum. I'll be finding out what the first Hindu faith school in the East Midlands could look like.
And I'll be meeting the schoolboy clarinetist following in the footsteps of a jazz legend.
Good evening, welcome to Monday's programme. First tonight, Derby aero engine maker Rolls-Royce says it's making progress with its investigation into an engine failure on a Super Jumbo. Last week, a giant A380 plane had to turn back to Singapore after an engine exploded just after takeoff.
Well, this evening, Rolls-Royce has announced that it has narrowed down the fault to the Trent 900 type, and it's ruled out the possibility of a similar explosion in any of its other engines.
Well, that statement via the London Stock Exchange helped Rolls-Royce's share prices to rise after a dramatic 10% fall since last Thursday. James Roberson reports.
Today, the airline Qantas said it had found more problems with some engines on its A380 Super Jumbo fleet. One of the planes was forced to make an emergency landing in Singapore last week when a Derby-made Rolls-Royce Trent 900 engine broke apart in flight.
The focus of our investigation has narrowed to the possibility of an oil leakage in the relevant turbine area. However, investigations on other areas of the engine are continuing in order to rule out other potential issues.
Amidst all this, Rolls-Royce's share price since last Wednesday lost about 10% of its value after the engine failure, as investors worried about the Trent 900's safety, though the price rallied tonight on the news that the investigation was progressing. An aviation expert, though, says the situation's still serious for Rolls-Royce and Airbus.
Because what has been done here is a very serious damage to the aircraft, which could have been much worse. And in fact, it may be rather worse than we understand at the moment, because a piece of this engine went through the wing, and these wings are going to be very difficult to repair. So it's very serious for Rolls-Royce, it's very serious for Airbus.
A union convener at Rolls-Royce told me this afternoon they were very concerned about what happened with the Qantas engine, since they take great pride in the company's products and its worldwide reputation. Today, as Rolls-Royce announced a £350 million deal for engines with Egypt Air, a company spokesman told me that despite everything, it's still business as usual for Rolls-Royce in Derby. James Roberson, East Midlands Today.
Next tonight, the charity that runs Britain's biggest retirement village is suggesting new ways of paying for care in old age.
Extra Care is submitting its radical proposals to a government commission investigating how the treatment of older people should be funded.
Well, our health correspondent Rob Sissons is at the retirement village in Nottingham for us now. Good evening, Rob.
Good evening. There's no slowing down in retirement here. This is Lark Hill at Clifton, and Dennis moved in here. A former bus driver in Nottingham, no regrets?
No regrets whatsoever.
What do you love about it?
Everything. The community spirit, everybody's so happy. We all get on together. Can't fault it.
Fantastic. Well, this is an idea that really started in America and in other parts of Europe, and it seems to be taking off. As our first report for the BBC's Living Longer series, we take a look at what village life really means. It might not be everyone's cup of tea, but Elsie's taken to her new life at Lark Hill. Her husband's also enjoying socialising and rediscovering childhood pastimes.
If it happens to me, she's got the security, everything in her, and these people will look after her.
We're over 70, and it's great to have this under 70. Keeps Brian and I going, doesn't it?
Yeah. We're some right laughs. We do.
There are plenty of activities, the ethos here, living not existing, a place where age is just a number. The charity says in future, residents who move in to either rent or buy a property may be able to use equity from the sale of their house to insure against future care needs.
I think that's a good idea because the children aren't, but I mean, both my children have said, don't worry about the money, Mum. You and Dad spend it. Enjoy yourself.
A year since the Connollys were the first to move in, the place has sold out. Nottingham City Council provided the land at cut price. Retirement villages seen as one answer to the needs of the ageing population. Those who've made the move reject criticism. It's simply a grey ghetto.
We've lived in our previous house for 40 years and couldn't anticipate moving. The idea was absolutely fantastic and the actual reality of it is superb.
One day we said to each other, you know, don't ever put me in a home and I won't put you in one.
Extra Care's now interested in building more retirement villages, perhaps even another one in Nottingham.
Well, who knows what direction care for the elderly is going in. There's a big government commission looking into it at the moment, and feeding into it is Extra Care. Ian is the centre manager here, the village manager. What's your big idea that you're going to suggest to this commission?
Basically what we're trying to do is release some of the equity in the current properties of our residents to possibly pay for care in the future.
So when you move in, you pay some of the equity from the sale of your house. When you buy a flat here or an apartment, that would insure you against your future care needs.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's a general impression of getting an insurance, but there are a few things to work out in the process first.
OK, the devil is always in the detail. That's got to be worked out. And I should say, as part of the BBC's Living Longer series, Inside Out has a special report on BBC One tonight that challenges some of the stereotypes of ageing, and there's one or two surprises in store. So stay tuned, BBC One at 7:30. And of course, every day this week, your BBC local radio station also has special reports.
OK, Rob Sissons, thank you. Still to come on our programme this evening, helping deaf children to be heard.
It's a new approach to communication that has caught the eye of a very famous film director.
And on a day when we've seen gale force winds, torrential rain, sleet and even snow in parts of the Peak District, what's the weather going to do tomorrow? I'll tell you in just a little while. Oh, God.
You're watching East Midlands Today, and the daughter of a Derbyshire man killed in the 7/7 bombings in London has told the inquest just how much he meant to her. Stan Booster from Swanwick was a senior engineer with Derbyshire County Council. Today, his daughter Katie read out a statement on behalf of his family. Well, Ben Kean was at the inquest, and I spoke to him a little earlier about her statement.
She began by describing how her father was brought up in Derbyshire, how he worked for Derbyshire County Council for most of his career as a civil engineer. He was involved in building bridges at Pride Park, and he won a prize for one of his other projects in the region. And she described her father like this, saying that he was an unbelievable man in every way. He was such a big character. He was always positive and full of fun. And she explained that his tragic death meant that he wasn't there to see her graduate, and that he died just a few weeks before he was due to celebrate his silver wedding anniversary with his wife Sandra.
And can you just recap the circumstances where he did die?
Well, Mr. Brewster was one of 6 victims of the Edgware bombing, and he was on the train, the same train as Mohammed Sadiq Khan, who was really the ringleader of the terrorist group who launched those attacks on London. Now, the inquests haven't yet heard the details of how he died, but that is going to be given in evidence, and it will be for the coroner to decide whether there was anything more that could have been done, perhaps to increase the chances of Mr. Brewster surviving those awful attacks.
OK, Ben, thank you very much for speaking to us.
2 people had to be taken to hospital after a fire at their home. Investigations into the cause of the blaze at a bungalow in Leicester are continuing. Firefighters were called to Byron Street in New Parks yesterday evening. The cause of the fire is still unknown.
The University of Derby says it's surprised that 150 students haven't arrived to take up their degree places. They all had a guaranteed place for September. None have said why they no longer want to study in the city, and their places are now being offered to other students for courses starting in January.
Police are still trying to find out the name of a man who died after falling from a bridge in Nottingham. It's now a week since the man's body was discovered on the A52 in Lenton. Officers say they aren't looking for anyone else in connection with the incident, but they need to tell his family about his death.
A schoolboy whose family's caravan was stolen has told us how he stumbled across the suspect's picture on the internet.
When Reuben Soanes searched for an image of his Derbyshire home, he saw the man standing on his drive. Our social affairs correspondent, Jeremy Ball, can tell us more. Good evening, Jeremy.
Well, yes, imagine the surprise when Reuben saw this, a stranger standing outside his home just yards from his dad's stolen caravan. Now, he found it by looking for their address at Linton near Swadlincote on Google's Street View programme. And this is what came up, pictures taken from the camera car. And as you move towards the family's home, you can actually see this mystery man standing on the drive next to a 4x4, which isn't theirs either. And it certainly looked like an extraordinary case of being caught in the act.
I was like, what's he doing on our drive? I mean, I don't know him. I don't know who he is.
We were absolutely gobsmacked, of course, to the sort of coincidence that this Google car was going past at exactly the same time as this man was on our driveway.
Now, of course, the police are hoping someone somewhere recognises this mystery man, but they haven't been able to trace the vehicle. That's because Google's privacy rules mean they have to black out the number plates. So what's happening now is police are having to make a formal legal application. They are confident, though, that they'll get those all-important number plate details, and they hope that might solve this crime.
OK, Jeremy, we'll leave it there. Thank you. Parents planning to send their children to a state-funded Hindu school due to open in Leicester next year have had a glimpse of the future.
To see what the Krishna Avanti school could look like, the parents were given a tour of the first Hindu school of its type in London. Samir Kalyani reports.
Maths with morality and science with spirituality. And of course the school bell. It looks like any other classroom, except the Krishna Avanti in Edgware is Britain's first Hindu state-funded school.
What's different about our school is, of course, we incorporate the spiritual, the emotional, the dharmic way of living.
The charity behind the project, I Foundation, is now forging ahead with plans to create a similar school in Leicester. It'll be part of the first wave of free schools being supported by the government and enables just about anyone to set up their own school. Parents from the city were given a tour of the London site to get an idea of what their children could be going to.
It's relieved a lot of anxieties in terms of integration into mainstream society.
There are already 14 faith schools in the city that get funding from the local authority, but are managed independently. The I Foundation says it's about time Leicester had a Hindu school.
Leicester is considered to be almost the seat of the Hindu community in the UK, and that choice, that provision just doesn't exist. And the free school routes gives us that opportunity, gives us that choice.
But not everyone agrees. The National Union of Teachers is against the whole idea of faith schools, saying they're divisive and out of local authority control. Krishna Avanti in Leicester is due to open in September next year. Priding itself on high academic standards and respect for diversity, it's hoping critics will have faith in its project. Samir Kalyani, East Midlands Today, Edgware in London.
Still to come on our programme this evening, a special guest.
Oh yes, he's a big yellow bear with a very important message.
And a schoolboy with a very special talent.
Before that, though, studies have established that more than 90% of communication comes from body language or facial expressions.
Now, a new research lab wants to exploit this to help parents communicate better with their deaf children.
By enlisting the help of cameras and a famous director, they hope to capture key moments on film, as Quentin Rayner reports.
If ever the classic line, "Here's looking at you, kid," applied, it would be here at the Family Lab in Nottingham. Not only is it stuffed full of cameras, some of which are hidden in fluffy toys, it's also attracted the interest of Ken Loach, one of the UK's most celebrated movie directors, and whose granddaughter has a cochlear implant.
The camera can read what's behind your eyes, you know. It can read your
your thinking in your head. It can make sense of pauses.
In a comfortable environment, parents can be filmed interacting with their children. The idea is to capture moments of communication that might ordinarily be missed and then apply them at home to improve understanding.
Well, I think from the videos you can see that he really concentrates on getting eye contact, doesn't he?
And you didn't realise that before, so to make that connection with him and to have it caught on video and then have it played back to you is quite empowering.
Having the video evidence there, what that tends to do is help parents see that they've got the skills that they need to communicate with their child, and that builds their confidence.
Are you going to offer any tips to the team as to the positioning of the cameras?
I wouldn't dare, really. I'm just going to keep my mouth shut on that. I think the lighting's a little harsh, really. I think backlight would be a little more helpful.
We'll pass that on, Ken.
All right, OK.
The technique is already helping improve communication with autistic children, and it's hoped this first NHS Family Lab for deaf children will reap similar rewards. Quentin Rayner, East Midlands Today, Nottingham.
Extraordinary, that, isn't it?
Interesting stuff.
It's sport time now.
It is. Here's Colin.
Thanks very much indeed. Coming up from me, Derby go fourth and our tactic truck, with me in it, visits Leicester. But first, Nottingham Forest manager's been defending his commitment to the club. Now, according to some newspapers, Billy Davies has been reprimanded by Forest for not spending enough time in Nottingham. Well, this afternoon, Billy told us someone's trying to change the real agenda, which for him is the need for new signings. Mark Shardlow reports.
It was a familiar result on Saturday. The game with Watford was Forest's 8th draw of the season. After going behind, it needed yet another scintillating goal from Lewis McGugan to grab the point. After the match, Billy Davies again fiercely questioned the club's ambitions. His Radio Nottingham interview seemed to come out of the blue. But today Davies said he knew that reports were surfacing, claiming he'd been told to spend less time at his Scottish home and more time at the club.
My track record tells everybody what I do, and also people know my work ethic, and I'm very, very comfortable with any so-called conversation that anybody has had with me at this club. And if anybody wants to have a conversation, then I'm more than happy to bring my lawyer up here and sit down and discuss exactly what the situation is. But I'm sorry, Mark, to repeat myself, it's called a diversion. It's called trying to change the agenda.
That agenda is the lack of signings over the last year, which Billy Davies says has stopped Forest progressing. And this afternoon, he's been pulling no punches.
A moan is only a moan when there is no facts. The facts are simple. The facts are we haven't signed a player in 15 or 16 months. Apparently everybody wants at this club promotion to the Premier League. If that is the case, then we need to put our money where our mouth is. Over the next few weeks, I will be presenting my list of players to David Pleat and the Acquisitions Committee. And I would like to think that we will make signings very early in January.
It'll be a few weeks that'll be fascinating on and off the pitch. Mark Shardlow, East Midlands Today, Nottingham.
There's more of that interview, 12 minutes of it, on the BBC Sport website, worth listening to. It's also the place to see and hear more about Derby's win over Portsmouth. Derby are now fourth in the Championship after another impressive win. Their first goal came after Thomas Sifka was brought down, and the old man Robbie Savage showed just how to take a penalty. Derby wrapped it up in the second half. Sifka's cross finished by Paul Green. Derby are at Ipswich tomorrow night. Now, Derby aren't the only one of our teams in form. Leicester have lost only once since Sven-Göran Eriksson's arrival, and they won comfortably at Barnsley over the weekend. So I took the tactics truck to the Foxes training ground.
Got to really like rain and cold to enjoy training on a day like this, and because our guest is first team coach of Leicester City and has been out in all this already, he very wisely is already sheltering in the tactics truck. Oh, it really is horrible out there. Derek Fazakli, first team coach.
Pleased
very nice to meet you. The form seems to be great, and I suppose you've got to give some credit to this man, haven't you?
Well, obviously he's got tremendous knowledge of international football and European football, and that with that comes a sort of gravitas, for want of a better word, and obviously it's something that the players look up to and respect.
It was a dominant performance, and this is the first goal. Straight off the training ground, this?
One of the areas that we thought that we might get a little bit of joy is if the delivery is good and the movement was good, that we might cause them problems, as we did.
It's all based on defence, isn't it? A strong performance, and this is kind of fairly rare Barnsley attack here.
One of the areas that the team and the club has needed to work on since we've been here is obviously trying to get some clean sheets and concede fewer goals. And certainly in the games that we've played so far, we've certainly looked a little bit tighter.
They're rushed, aren't they? They're having to make quick decisions.
Certainly. We try and put teams under a little bit of pressure, as high up the pitch as we possibly can.
Lots of travelling fans.
They must have been disappointed at the start of the season, but they see now that, you know, a victory at Leeds, a victory away at Barnsley, two difficult places to go, and hopefully the club's moving in the right direction.
Now, away from the Championship, it was the first round of the FA Cup, all the romance. Kirsty Edwards has the goals.
Notts County got their first win under Paul Ince, beating Gateshead 2-0. Ben Davis's penalty gave him the chance to show off his acrobatics. Luke Rodgers then set up a second-round tie at home to Bournemouth. There's no stopping Chesterfield striker Craig Davis at the moment. He scored his 13th goal of the season in the 2-0 win at Harrow. The informed Spirites now head to Burton Albion in round 2. Lincoln were down to 10 men just before the break, and they left it right till the last minute to see off Nuneaton Borough 1-0. Albert Jarrett's free kick means the Imps go to Hereford in the next round. 2 years ago, Eastwood Town reached the third round, but this time they were the victims of a shock as Swindon Supermarine beat them 2-1. Lee Stevenson's goal a mere consolation. Late heartbreak for Mansfield Town. They held on for 87 minutes against Torquay before losing 1-0. Kirsty Edwards, East Midlands Today.
Swindon Supermarine, one of the best names in football. It felt pretty marine down at Leicester, I have to say. Very wet indeed.
Bitter.
Marine everywhere at the moment, isn't it?
Forecast coming up soon.
Indeed. Before that, though, he's just 16 years old, but already Jake Hinson is winning accolades as a clarinetist.
And he's gaining inspiration from the instrument he plays. It is the very clarinet owned by American jazz legend Artie Shaw.
Sarah Teal went to see and, of course, to hear Jake in action.
Artie Shaw was one of the world's greatest jazz legends. At his peak in the 1930s and 40s, his clarinet playing was described as brilliant and dazzling. Fast forward several decades and Artie's clarinet is now making music again, in the gifted hands of 16-year-old Jake Hinson. The Nottingham schoolboy has been playing since the age of 8 and already has a notable list of achievements to his name.
It's really inspirational for me to play Artie's clarinet because it was his favourite one. This particular model was his preferred one, which he did all his smaller group recordings on. And it feels really good to play. I get a lot of pleasure out playing the clarinet. It's what I want to do when I'm older. I want to be a professional clarinetist.
Artie's clarinet returned to the USA for the first time in 60 years when Jake took it on a grand tour of New York with Nottingham High School's big band. Jake's dad, Nigel, is a clarinetist too and a huge Artie Shaw fan. He's the one that actually bought this magnificent instrument at quite a considerable price too.
The price of a sort of family car, that type of thing, rather than give you a figure.
Was it worth it?
Well, it's certainly worth it to me, and I think it sort of has got a life and it's still being played. So I think Artie Shaw would have been very happy with that.
Artie Shaw died at the age of 94. He was almost as well known for his succession of wives. He had 8 in all, including film stars Lana Turner and Ava Gardner. Jake says he wants to follow in his footsteps, but he's content with making his name as a master musician. Sarah Teal, East Midlands Today, Nottingham.
Well, he's doing that clarinet some justice, isn't he?
Whoa, it's fabulous.
Well done, young man.
Actually, I need someone to cheer us up like that because it's just diabolical outside, Sarah.
What a contrast to last week when we were sort of, so mild, weren't we? But no, we've had a very wet and windy start to the day, to say the least. A deep area of low pressure has been with us throughout today. It's all started in the early hours of the morning. This is where it's sitting at the moment. And we've also got some rain sort of wrapped around it, and that's what's been giving us a really good soaking throughout this morning, and some sleet and snow as well. Now, the wind is going to change direction overnight. At the moment, it's a southeasterly, but it does feel quite raw outside. It'll gradually start to turn around to more of a northeasterly for tomorrow, so an even colder day forecast for Tuesday. Now, we will still see some snow falling, certainly throughout parts of the Peak District overnight, as that band of rain still stays with us. And although it went north for a short period of time, it will then gradually start to work its way southwards and become a little bit more showery by the early hours of the morning. But nighttime temperatures dropping to a minimum of 5 Celsius. Now, tomorrow morning we are going to see quite a lot of showers around on Tuesday, and quite a brisk northeasterly wind as well, and that will continue to bring those showers in on that northeasterly wind. So a bit of a wet day on and off for some, a lot of clouds staying with us in between the showers, and daytime temperatures tomorrow reaching a maximum of 8 Celsius. Now, we will get a little bit of respite by the time we get to Wednesday. The winds will be lighter on Wednesday, and the sky should start to clear a little bit better as well. So we should see a drier day with some sunshine, so a better outlook for Wednesday. But once again, it's like the calm before the next area of low pressure starts to come in, because this is what's forecast for Thursday. Another deep area of low pressure starting to come in from the Atlantic, and again we'll start to see this band of rain sort of moving in during the early hours of Thursday, and then with us throughout the daytime, and continuing to give us very strong winds again on Friday as well, and that rain continuing. So there is the possibility certainly of some flooding towards the end of the week, and just a really miserable outlook, but the sort of weather when you could do with a nice yellow furry coat.
Spooky you should say that, Sarah,
Yes,
because
very
look
good,
who's
yes.
here. It's Pudsey, Hello Pudsey. Reason,
Back
of course,
again.
Children in Need, 2 weeks' time, the 19th of November.
Yeah, if you want a fundraising pack packed full of ideas about how you can help, or indeed some of these lovely Pudsey goodies, then just come into our reception on London Road in Nottingham during office hours, or in fact you can go to Boots, yes, or Asda, the larger ones.
Pudsey knows where
Get
to
your hands
go.
on these, yeah.
And from 6 o'clock on Pudsey's Day, we'll be live at East Midlands Airport, where our fundraising is focused. You may notice there's a huge cake there. There's a big bake-off, because of course the whole theme is baking. Lots of entertainment. You can see some familiar faces like you've never seen them before in our Pudsey Panto.
Yes.
I'm the goth mother, fairy
Yes,
goth mother.
and I shall be dressing up in a dress.
How lovely, I can hardly wait. Come along and support us if you can. And I'll see you on Late News. Bye.